Snow falls in thick, cotton-like flakes as I drive along the winding roads of Vermont. Each turn carries me farther from Boston, away from quarterly reports, client crises, and the endless stream of notifications that have ruled my life for the past 3 months. With every passing mile, my shoulders ease just a little more. 10 days, I whisper, the words misting in the cold air of my car. 10 days of complete silence. The dashboard clock glows 2:17 p.m. I'm making great time, better than expected for this weather. My cabin is only 20 minutes ahead. My retreat, my reward for years of saving and late nights. Unlike most of my coworkers who spend bonuses on New York weekends or designer bags, I've always been practical. 2 properties by 32. Not bad for a marketing manager from a middle-class background with no inheritance, unless you count the inherited sense of responsibility. The evergreens lining the road. Bend under heavy white coats. I know that feeling. 5 years of being Tessa's caretaker have taught me a lot about carrying weight. I love my sister. But Christmas always tests me. Her need for attention intensifies every year, as if matching the glow of city lights. This time, I chose differently. 10 days for myself. Tessa pouted when I told her, but she's 26 now. She has Derek. She doesn't need me organizing her gifts or hosting her friends for Christmas Eve cocktails. As I round the final bend, my cabin comes into view, nestled against the mountain like a postcard, but my grip tightens when I see not one, but 2 cars in the driveway, Tessa's cherry red Jeep, and a mud-splattered pickup I don't recognize. What on earth? My first thought, break in. My second, something's wrong with Tessa. Heart racing, I park behind the Jeep and grab my phone, ready to call for help. But the cabin windows glow warmly, music echoing through the walls. Not the soft jazz I'd left playing last time, but Christmas pop. Loud and cheerful. I wade through ankle-deep snow to the porch. Key in hand, though I doubt I'll need it. When I turn the knob, the door swings open, and for a moment, I wonder if I've walked into the wrong cabin. The tree isn't my simple pine with white lights and silver ornaments. It's a massive spruce overflowing with multicolored baubles. Garlands drape across every surface. Candles burn everywhere, mixing cinnamon and pine into a heavy, cloying scent, and people, so many people. Strangers lounging on my furniture, sipping wine from the crystal glasses I gave Tessa last Christmas. A middle-aged couple sits in my reading chair. 3 20-somethings crowd my kitchen island, using my grandmother's punch bowl. In the center of it all stands Tessa, her blonde hair styled high, wearing a red sweater I instantly recognize. Mine. Beside her, Derek laughs with a man who has his same square jaw, probably his father. The laughter dies when the door clicks shut behind me. Heads turn. Glasses freeze midair, the music plays on, absurdly cheerful against the silence. My gaze lands on the mantel, where my parents' photo used to sit. In its place, a framed picture of Derek's family. Mom and Dad are pushed to a side table. Half hidden behind a poinsettia, Tessa finally speaks. Her tone casual, but her eyes sharp. You're early. I thought you'd be somewhere more upscale. New York, maybe Aspen. No one else moves. Derek stares at the floor. Tessa's voice continues. Sweet but edged. It's nice you came back to our cabin. Our cabin. The words hit hard. I look around. Suitcases in the corner. Mail on the table. Derek's jacket on the hook that used to hold mine. This isn't a party. Someone's living here. A memory surfaces. My 10th birthday. Canceled because Tessa had a cold. Nothing serious, but enough for Mom to say my celebration could wait. It never happened. Protect Tessa, Mom always said. She's weaker. She needs more care. I grew up believing that. Her needs came first, always. But now, standing in the space I built for peace, watching strangers treat it like theirs, something inside me shifts. A small crack forms in years of obligation. For the first time, I wonder if protection has become enabling, if care has turned toxic. The music keeps playing. Tessa meets my eyes, daring me to react. I stand in my own doorway, unsure whether to enter or walk away. The silence stretches, sweet turning bitter. My fingernails dig into my palms, anchoring me against the storm rising inside. Tessa narrows her eyes slightly, waiting for me to break the peace. She braces herself for it, the lecture, the shouting, the usual chaos. It's a pattern we both know too well. She pushes until I snap, then plays the victim. But not this time. I take a slow look around, noting every boundary she's crossed. Derek's parents sit in my reading chair. Wine glasses balanced on the armrests, rings forming where they shouldn't. Their smiles fade, replaced by uncertainty as silence stretches. The woman, June, from Tessa's wedding, clutches her cardigan tighter, a shield of politeness. We didn't know, she stammers, glancing between us. Tessa said you'd agreed. That you wanted us to use the cabin for the holidays. A humorless laugh almost escapes me. Of course she did. Derek stares at the floor, his thumb tracing his watch band, his tell when things go wrong. He knows Tessa's lying. He always knows, yet never intervenes. I believe you, I say evenly, though my chest tightens. I turn to June and her husband, deliberately ignoring my sister. But let me be clear. You have 24 hours to leave and return everything to how it was. The air chills instantly. A glass clinks too loudly as someone sets it down. If it's not spotless when I'm back, I'll call the police. My tone is calm, detached. No anger, just facts. Tessa freezes, wine halfway to her lips. This isn't how she expected it to go. I'm supposed to yell, argue, give her the drama she feeds on. Instead, I stay silent. That quiet says more than shouting ever could. I didn't know she'd do this, Derek murmurs, finally meeting my eyes. There's real regret there, but it changes nothing. How many times has he apologized, only to let it happen again? June rises quickly, tugging at her husband's arm. We should pack, Richard. Her voice trembles with forced politeness. She starts collecting their things, avoiding my gaze. One by one, they all follow, leaving behind half-eaten cookies and unfinished drinks. Only Tessa looks at me, disbelief turning into fear. She finally understands. I mean it this time. I offer no words, no explanations. I just turn, close the door softly, and walk out. Snow drifts down in heavy flakes, catching in my hair and melting on my skin. Every step through the white feels intentional, almost symbolic. Behind me stands the cabin I bought after years of long work days. Ahead lies a future where, for once, I come first. I drive away without glancing back. The cabin's warm glow fading in the rearview mirror as the wipers keep their steady rhythm on the winding mountain road, taking me further from a lifetime of enabling. 2 hours later, I stop at a small roadside motel, its flickering vacancy sign glowing against the darkening sky. The room is modest but tidy, nothing like my carefully arranged cabin, yet it feels like a quiet refuge. I prepare a cup of instant coffee from the courtesy tray and sit by the window, watching snowflakes drift beneath the street lamp. At first, anger fills me completely. My thoughts spiral through everything that's been taken from me, not just my property, but years of giving without limits. By midnight, the rage cools, replaced by a deep fatigue. And by dawn, clarity begins to surface. This isn't just about losing my house, I whisper to my reflection in the frosted glass. It's about them believing I'd never draw a line. Steam from my cup clouds the window as I mentally list every time I've gone too far to help Tessa. The apartment in Burlington, where I paid half her rent for 3 years while she figured things out. The car loans I co-signed despite her poor credit and her habit of choosing trips over payments. The business connections I used to help Derek's parents get their mortgage after bankruptcy. The pattern is painfully clear. My vow to protect Tessa after our parents' funeral turned into chains, binding me to endless giving and her to constant taking. What began as duty twisted into something unhealthy. I recall the look in Tessa's eyes when she said, "our cabin." It wasn't gratitude or even entitlement, it was resentment. As though my help was both expected and despised, every favor a reminder of her reliance. For the first time, I see it fully. My protection became her prison, and my sacrifice her burden. We've both been trapped in roles neither of us chose but kept repeating. The coffee cools in my hands as snow continues to fall, covering everything in quiet white. Tomorrow I'll return to the cabin. Whether they've complied or defied me, I don't know. But something fundamental has changed. The chain is broken. Whether Tessa understands it yet or not, everything is different now. The next morning, my phone buzzes on the nightstand, pulling me from sleep. I squint at the screen, morning light filtering through the cabin window. A message from Tessa reads, "We left. The cabin's cleaned." I'm sorry, I sit up, suddenly alert. The cabin feels still, emptier, quieter. I wrap my robe around me and walk to the living room, ready for whatever mess remains. But what I see stops me cold. The cabin is spotless. every cushion perfectly in place, the coffee table gleaming without a trace of dust. Even the kitchen counters shine like they've been scrubbed multiple times. The gaudy Christmas decorations are gone. The overdone tree, gone too. Above the fireplace, my parents' photo has been returned to its rightful spot. I move closer. It's perfectly centered. The glass so clean it's nearly invisible. I move through each room slowly. Every space has been restored to its original, peaceful state. The silence feels almost unreal, as if nothing ever occurred here, as if the intrusion never happened. The only sign of what took place is this unsettling perfection, an overcorrection that quietly hints at remorse. That evening, I light a fire in the hearth and uncork a bottle of Cabernet I'd saved for something meaningful. Tonight feels worthy of it. I settle into my favorite chair and lift my glass toward the quiet room. To boundaries, I murmur. The flames flicker gently, spreading soft light across the space. My living room. For the first time in years, I'm spending the holidays free from obligation, free from the guilt that used to shadow every moment I took for myself. This calm feels like triumph. I sip the wine slowly, letting its taste linger. What I feel goes beyond simple relief. Something steady and lasting is growing inside me. This isn't merely about resolving one conflict with Tessa. It's about taking back ownership of my life. The following days pass in quiet thought. I begin to trace the patterns that have shaped our relationship since our parents passed away. Each morning, I sit by the window with coffee in hand, watching the snow drift across the pine trees while recalling every time I supported Tessa's dependence. The reduced rent on her apartment I'd justified it as a way to help her get started. The monthly payments on her Jeep Compass, I told myself it was safer than her old car. The credit card? With my name attached, just until she could build her own credit. I'd said now, with distance and honesty, I recognize how compassion without limits turned into entitlement. Every act of kindness became not a gift, but an assumption. Every personal sacrifice reinforced the belief that her needs came before mine. A plan begins to take shape. Careful, deliberate, and necessary. This isn't revenge. There's no satisfaction in it, only resolve. It's a conscious effort to dismantle the unhealthy patterns I helped create. I open my laptop and begin the work. First, I send an email to Tessa's property manager, officially ending the agreement where I had been covering part of her rent. Next, I contact the auto loan company to cancel the automatic payments on her Jeep. I prepare formal letters withdrawing my financial backing for her credit cards and utilities. Every message is professional and composed. No emotion, no blame, just factual and direct, effective immediately. I will no longer be financially responsible for these commitments. 3 days later, the first response arrives in my inbox. The subject line reads, "Tessa Miller is behind on rent." My hand hesitates over the delete key. Old instincts urge me to step in, to fix things, to shield Tessa from the outcome of her choices. Instead, I reply, "Follow the lease. Send the 14-day non-payment notice." I pause, then add, "Proceed with eviction if required." No exceptions. After sending the email, a wave of guilt rises, but I steady my breath and remind myself, this isn't cruelty. It's what must be done for both of us. 3 weeks later, another message appears. Vehicle repossession completed. An image is attached. Tessa's white Jeep being lifted onto a tow truck. Snow falling in the dim light. I delete the email without replying, without reacting. Only a quiet acceptance remains. The guilt has begun to fade, replaced by something steadier. Strength. On the last day of my retreat, I begin reorganizing the cabin. I open closets and drawers, finding pieces of Tessa's past scattered through the space. A scarf draped on a hook, earrings left on the bathroom shelf, books with worn pages stacked near the guest bed. I gather them carefully, placing each into a box I'll send to her address. I rearrange the furniture, choosing a setup that fits my own rhythm. New pillows, fresh artwork, a reading nook where Derek's family once kept their bags. With every small change, the cabin reshapes itself, becoming fully mine. As the sun sets on my final evening, I stand in the center of the room. The space around me now mirrors the boundaries I've built in my life. Clear, deliberate, and necessary. For the first time in years, I can breathe without resentment weighing on me. This cabin isn't just a place anymore, it's freedom. A month slips by quietly, each day passing like sand through an hourglass, and the phone never rings. The silence feels unfamiliar after years of Tessa's constant demands consuming my time. I've replaced the chaos with small comforts. Reading the books that had been gathering dust, joining a cooking class in town, and reconnecting with friends who had long stopped inviting me to last-minute plans. Then my phone buzzes on the table. Tessa's name flashes on the screen, and the peace I've built wavers. I think about ignoring it, but habit wins. Reagan? Her voice cracks as she exhales. Thank God you answered. What's wrong? I ask. Everything, she says, her tone collapsing into panic. Derek's mother called me lazy, said I don't contribute to their home. And Derek just stood there. He didn't defend me. I hear doors slamming and footsteps echoing in the background. Then Derek started too. He said I need to grow up, get a job, that I can't expect to be taken care of forever. Her voice trembles. He even brought up the cabin, said I embarrassed him in front of his family. Old instincts flare inside me. The urge to fix things, to calm her down, to make it all right again. I rest my hand on the cold window, watching snowflakes dissolve on the glass. Please, Reagan, she whispers, that same pleading tone I've heard since we were kids. I just need one last chance. Help me fix this. Tell Derek I'm trying. Let me stay with you until things settle down. I close my eyes. The pattern is clear, the crisis, the plea, my rescue, her gratitude fading into expectation, then resentment. It's a loop we've lived for years. You're 31, Tessa, I say, my voice steady. I'm not your mother. A sharp silence follows. What's that supposed to mean? She snaps. It means I can't fix your marriage or your problems with Derek's family. I reply evenly. You need to take responsibility for your own life. There's no lecture this time, no advice, just the truth, finally said out loud. The silence stretches long enough for me to wonder if the call has ended. Then her voice comes back, brittle and angry. You ruined everything. If it weren't for you, my life wouldn't be like this. I pull the phone slightly away as she continues, her words spilling fast. You always think you know best. You made me dependent, and now you want to abandon me when I need you most. Behind her voice, I hear drawers slamming, things hitting the floor, the chaos returning on her end. Just as the quiet settles deeper on mine. Walls, a home unraveling. Don't blame your sister. This is on you. Derek's voice breaks in, sharp and unexpected. I hadn't realized he'd been listening. Stay out of this, Tessa shouts, her voice fading as if she's turned away from the phone. No, I've stayed out long enough, Derek replies. Your sister's right. You're an adult, but you still behave like a teenager expecting someone else to fix your mistakes. Their argument builds, words clashing and overlapping like stones tumbling downhill. Then, the sound of glass shattering cuts through the noise. Look what you made me do, Tessa yells. More crashes follow, mixed with Derek's demands for her to stop breaking things that don't belong to her. I listen quietly, neither interrupting nor ending the call. This isn't my battle anymore. Then silence. The line goes dead. It feels heavy, like the air itself is filled with years of built-up tension finally released. I set the phone on the table. There's no impulse to call back, no urge to fix anything. Instead, I exhale slowly, feeling the burden of responsibility slip away from my shoulders. Everything has fallen apart naturally, without my interference. The consequences belong to Tessa now, where they always should have. Relief spreads through me, not because I want her to suffer, but because I'm no longer trying to stop what was always coming. 3 weeks later, I hear from Mark, an old friend from home. Derek filed for divorce. Tessa lost her apartment when his parents, who owned it, asked her to move out. The car she drove was under Derek's company name. Her reputation has crumbled after a public outburst at a restaurant, witnessed by half their social circle. I feel no triumph in hearing it. Each update lands with quiet acceptance instead of satisfaction. Sometimes, people need to fall apart before they can rebuild. Winter loosens its hold on Boston. By March, the air softens and the trees along my street begin to bud. The seasons shift. And so do we, whether we want to or not. As the last patches of snow disappear from my yard, My phone rings again. Tessa's name lights up the screen, a test of the boundaries I've finally learned to hold. This time, I answer calmly, Reagan. Her voice trembles. But it carries humility now, I'm sorry. Please, just one more chance. I stand by the window, watching a robin gather twigs for its nest. Spring is here, offering new beginnings only to those willing to build them themselves. I'm listening. I say, and I mean it, for the first time, I'm not rushing to save her, I'm simply listening. What happens next is up to her. 3 days later, morning light filters through the cabin windows, illuminating floating dust like fading memories. I sit by the window, watching snowmelt drip from the eaves, each droplet surrendering to the thaw. The lake beyond is beginning to clear, just as my thoughts have over the past few weeks. Tessa sits across from me, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee. 3 months of silence, ended by one unexpected call. No shouting, no confrontation, just me leaving her to face her own choices and driving back to Boston in peace. You look different, she says, studying me with careful eyes. I am different. This time, the words come easily, steady, without defense. She runs a finger around the rim of her mug, searching for the right words. I recognize the gesture. It's always the signal before a request, another responsibility she hopes I'll take on. But this time, something feels different between us, as if the scales have finally begun to balance. I used to be the place you came home to, I say quietly, surprised by my own calm honesty. The one who always caught you when you fell. Her eyes flick up, surprised. This isn't how our conversations usually go. Now it's time to stand on your own. I meet her gaze, steady but kind. And when you do, I'll be the first to be proud. The silence that follows isn't tense. It's peaceful, grounded in mutual understanding. For once, we both let the moment exist, acknowledging what's been lost and what might still be rebuilt. I get up and head to the kitchen, returning with the bottle of Pinot Noir I've been saving. Not as comfort this time, but as a quiet acknowledgement. Pouring 2 glasses, I hand one to Tessa. What are we celebrating? She asks, her voice heavy with fatigue. Freedom, I reply. Yours and mine, we drink together, watching the last traces of snow slide from the eaves and fade into the waking ground below. Later, as Tessa gathers her things to leave, I feel something settle inside me. Where guilt once lived, there's now understanding. Love doesn't disappear. It changes. It grows beyond dependence into something steadier and more respectful. Letting go, I realize, might be the truest form of care. The responsibility I've carried since our parents' death hasn't vanished, but it's lighter now, shared with the one it belongs to. Relief replaces guilt, warm and slow, like the first thaw after a long winter. When I return to work Monday, Janet notices immediately. You seem different, she says as we prep for the morning meeting. More present. I smile, organizing my notes with a focus that feels both new and familiar. I've set some boundaries, I tell her. Well, it suits you, she says, pausing at the conference room door. By the way, Parker wants to see you after this. Something about the Westridge account. The Westridge account. Our largest client, usually reserved for senior managers. My pulse quickens as I take my seat at the table. 2 hours later, I'm sitting in Parker's office as he offers the promotion I once thought out of reach, while Tessa's constant crises still hover at the edge of my attention. Your presentation last month earned this, he says. That decisiveness, that clear direction, that's what Westridge rewards. My coworkers pick up on the change in me, on how I carry myself. Lunch invites start coming more often. Team projects that used to feel like chores now spark new ideas. Success isn't constantly undercut by family emergencies clogging my inbox or voicemail. I start reconnecting with friends I neglected during the Tessa years. What began as coffee with Marlene becomes dinner with her and her husband, a weekend hike with my college roommate. Julie reminds me how much I've missed those ties, relationships formed from mutual respect rather than duty. I worried about you, Julie says as we pause on a fallen log, water bottles between us. You vanished into Tessa's problems. It felt like watching someone drown slowly. The truth hurts, but not the way it used to. I thought I was being strong, I answer, taking care of everyone. And now? Now I see strength differently, I tell her. It isn't hauling everything. It's knowing what you should carry. We begin to assemble a chosen family. People who want my company rather than depend on my rescue. 3 months after our cabin conversation, an email from Tessa appears. No flashy subject. No urgent plea, just her name in my inbox on a Tuesday afternoon. I open it between meetings, bracing for the usual manipulation. Instead, it's a straightforward update, a new job, an apartment search, no asks, no emotional pressure. The first real signs of her stepping into independence after our old patterns. My reply is measured and kind. I offer coffee the following week, with clear boundaries. 2 hours on Saturday at the cafe near her new workplace. A reset. Adults meeting as equals without the caretaking dynamic clouding our interaction. As I hit send, an unfamiliar feeling rises. Hope, but stripped of heavy expectation. Hope without responsibility attached. Just hope, standing alone, much like Tessa will now have to stand. And like the final snowdrops melting from my cabin eaves, the last traces of the old strain begin to disappear. The remnants of our unhealthy bond have faded, leaving room for something new to grow. 6 months have transformed the cabin completely. I trace my fingertips along the new security panel, appreciating how seamlessly it blends into the rustic wood walls. The outdoor motion sensors provide reassurance without making the place feel fortified. Balance, that's what I've finally found. The invasion left no visible marks. Everything Derek's family touched has been cleaned. Replaced or rearranged, this time by choice, not obligation. On the mantel now sits a photo of Mom and Dad in the center, surrounded by smaller frames that capture moments of real joy. Climbing Mount Washington last fall, laughing with coworkers at the company retreat, and a candid shot of me painting the kitchen deep red simply because I wanted to. I light a lavender and cedar candle, my favorite mix, though Tessa always claimed it gave her headaches, and glance around the room. The furniture is arranged to frame the Vermont mountains instead of the television. My bookshelf now proudly displays my first edition mysteries, no longer tucked away to please others. Every detail reflects genuine choices, no compromises. My phone timer chimes. 30 minutes until guests arrive. My first dinner party here since reclaiming the cabin. 8 friends from work and my hiking group will soon fill these rooms with conversation. The table is set with mismatched antique plates I've collected from small-town shops. Another touch that would have horrified Tessa's sense of proper hosting. Later, laughter fills the cabin. Wine glasses clink as Lauren raises a toast. To Reagan, she says warmly, for reminding us how vital boundaries, courage, and chosen family truly are. 8 glasses lift together. Their approval feels like recognition, not expectation. These friendships ask only for honesty. Marcus, our creative director, leans back with a grin. My roommate reorganized my record collection by color last week. I nearly filed for divorce. Everyone laughs, including me. 6 months ago, a joke about bad roommates would have sent me spiraling, dragging me back into memories of Tessa's intrusion. Tonight, it's just humor among friends. Same topic, different reaction. After dessert, as everyone gathers near the fireplace with fresh drinks, I step into the kitchen for a moment of quiet. Space I've learned to create without guilt. From the doorway, I watch them relax comfortably in my home without overtaking it. The contrast with Derek's family, once sprawled possessively across these same rooms, couldn't be clearer. The next morning, with the cabin peaceful again, I sit on the sunlit deck and open my leather journal. The spring air smells of pine and possibility. I write, "Love doesn't require losing yourself. The greatest gift I've given myself is permission to exist fully, without apology, without shrinking." I am no longer defined by being Tessa's older sister or by carrying everyone's emotions. The pen glides easily as I record this truth. For years, I believed responsibility meant putting others first. Therapy has reframed that, showing me that real responsibility starts with self-care, expands through boundaries, and only then reaches others. The cabin phone rings. I answer without checking the caller ID. Another quiet victory. Reagan? It's Dr. Norris confirming next Tuesday. Looking forward to it, I reply, and mean it. Therapy has become sacred time, not something to hide. We've unpacked generations of family patterns, the martyr complex passed down from my grandmother to my mother to me, and the helplessness Tessa turned into her role. Work has improved too. My promotion last month came after I stopped saying yes to every crisis, focusing instead on meaningful contributions within healthy limits. Saying no opened space for better yeses. New, supportive friendships have replaced draining ones. Each connection now rests on mutual respect, not guilt or obligation. 2 weeks later, in the office break room, Kelly, a junior associate, approaches nervously, clutching her coffee. "Do you have a minute?" she asks. We sit by the window. She tells me her parents insist on weekly dinners, even though her partner feels unwelcome. The guilt eating at her each time she considers skipping one. "You always seem so grounded," she says. "Like you know exactly where your limits are." Her comment makes me smile. "That's new," I admit. 6 months ago, I found my sister living in my vacation home without permission. Kelly's eyes widen. "What did you do?" "I did what I should have done long ago," I answer calmly. "I learned I can love people, even family, but from a distance. Whatever distance it takes to stay healthy." The words come easily now, no longer from pain, but from understanding. Sometimes the kindest choice for everyone involved is learning to say no. She nods slowly, taking it in. "That's exactly what I needed to hear," she says. Later that evening, my phone buzzes with a message. Tessa's name appears on the screen, no longer sparking the old rush of tension. "Hey, I'm thinking about taking some online classes. The community college has a business program. Could you look at the course list when you get a chance?" No rush. I read it twice, noticing what's different this time. No pressure, no guilt, no urgency. Her tone is calm, her request considerate, and she acknowledges my time. I place the phone down and decide to respond tomorrow. Not immediately. It feels like the beginning of something healthier, small, uncertain, but real. The Vermont sunset washes the mountains in soft amber and rose as I sink into the Adirondack chair on my deck. My journal rests open on my lap, a glass of Cabernet beside me. I write my final reflection for the day. Love still exists. Boundaries simply define where it starts and where it ends. A ringtone echoes faintly from inside the house. My heartbeat stays even, my breathing calm. Whatever that call holds, trouble or connection, it can wait until I'm ready. The urgency that once ruled me has softened into steady confidence. Peace, I've learned, isn't the absence of struggle, it's the presence of balance. Have you ever faced a choice between keeping the peace and protecting yourself? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. I'd love to hear them.